A strong cold front and rain. Not a typical way to end August, but that's what we're going to be doing this year. Let's talk about it in this Wednesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning, I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer. It's Wednesday, the 27th of August, 2025. Thank you for taking time out of your day to pop on in for some Texas weather information. I know there's many places you can get it, so thank you for choosing us here at the Texas Storm Chasers, and of course here in good old Baldy-in-Chief land. I'll give you a guess as to why I'm known as Baldy-in-Chief, but it might have something to do with the fact I am bald. And I'm also the chief here, the Texas Storm Chasers. By the way, if you want a hat, we've got a few left, so feel free to order one or three, and we'll get up to you. With that said, let's get to the weather today. Here's the high-res rapid refresh model taking us through this afternoon and evening. Pop-up storms possible down in the Big Bend, Davis, Bounds, Marfa, Alpine area. Probably going to have more pop-up storms today as well on the Texas Gulf Coast. That's just typical, you know. Going into Thursday afternoon and evening, we're going to have the possibility for at least isolated storms possible. The Big Country, North Texas, Texoma, and Northeast Texas. The possibility exists we may see a cluster of storms form around Oklahoma City, and those could move southeast tomorrow afternoon and evening into the Arklatex in Northeast Texas. Some of those storms may have some hail and strong winds associated with them, in addition to dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning. For late tonight, we may see some storms encroach on the Panhandle of Texas, especially the Perryton, Canadian area, before those move into Oklahoma. Severe weather outlook. Guess what? Yep, we got one of those here in August. Late Thursday, the potential for isolated severe storms associated again with that cluster of activity that may move southeast out of Oklahoma towards Northeast Texas and the Arklatex late Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, with the potential of localized damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour and maybe some quarter to ping pong ball size hail. Heading into the fire weather outlook from the Texas A&M Forest Service. Generally speaking, low to moderate fire danger. But still, grasses are pretty cured at this point in some areas, so they will combust easily. Nevertheless, we're not doing too bad. We're definitely not seeing any of those, uh-oh colors yet. And based on the forecast for the next several days, we're probably not going to see any uh-oh colors for a while, which is always nice. Let's take a look at the tropics. Here is the Atlantic Basin. We have Ferdinand way out in the open Atlantic. That's going to be going bye-bye here shortly. As it moves northeast, it's going to undergo extratropical transition, which is just a fancy way of saying it's going to lose its characteristics that make it a tropical cyclone, and it's just going to become a mean old, area of low pressure as it moves up into the North Atlantic. No, your monitors aren't broken. There's nothing else going on in the Atlantic right now. That being said, there probably will be here in about 7 to 10 days, so enjoy the less active period while it lasts in the Atlantic, because we'll probably have a flurry of activity heading into mid-September. On the opposite side of the basin, specifically the Pacific, we have plenty to discuss. We have Juliet off the coast of Baja California, non-issue for y'all. That's going to be moving west and weakening. We have 3 other systems that either have low or moderate chances, or medium, I guess is the terminology, chances of developing into something. But again, this does reaffirm that when one basin quiets down, typically the other will fire up. Atlantic was active for a bit. Now it's the Pacific's turn once again. None of those systems are going to be an issue for us, though we have plenty of weather to discuss. See, I can make rhymes even in August. Here's a look at the European weather model. This is the upper air pattern at about 500 millibars. That's around 18,500 feet above sea level. It's about halfway up the atmosphere, jet stream level, and allows us to see, using this graphic specifically, where we have areas of high pressure or higher than usual height anomalies, which is indicative of a high pressure or ridge. In the summer months, a good indicator of heat dome and less active weather, versus the trough. So those dips in the jet stream, which you can see with those lines on the graphic, those cooler colors, and that's indicative of, well, cooler weather and more active weather typically. You can see going over the next, well, really week, we're going to have that big old trough digging down into the eastern United States, bringing much cooler weather out there, less active weather. But right here over Texas, you can see we're kind of right on that transition zone between the less active and more active, or in this case, the cooler and warmer air masses. We're going to have a northwesterly flow aloft. That's going to allow a couple cold fronts to move down into the state, specifically a pretty strong one later this week, and also systems with precipitation. So let's take a look at what that means with same weather model, European. It's going to take us into the weekend. You can see it going into Saturday evening, scattered to numerous thunderstorms possible. Plenty of the state going into Sunday morning. Cluster storms may move southeast from the Panhandle, West Texas, towards the big country, Concho Valley, Permian Basin, Hill Country, and then going into Monday, well, more storm chances possible. Southern Texas, and then heading into Monday afternoon. This model's a little less active than prior days, but guess what? Friday, storms. Eastern parts of the state in the morning. Rest of the state during the afternoon, evening, pop-up storms. And then, going into Saturday and Sunday, fairly active weekend ahead with scattered thunderstorms possible in several regions of the state, which is just overall leading up to a pretty wet weather pattern setting up shop. Not necessarily one that features a lot of severe storms, though some stronger storms are certainly possible, with dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning, maybe a bit of hail, localized damaging winds. This is not a big tornado setup. This is not a throw softball size hail at your roof setup. This is a gusty wind, localized heavy rain, a lot of lightning setup. Now we can see that here, looking at the forecast rain totals from the Weather Prediction Center over the next 7 days. Now, y'all might notice I haven't really shown this graphic a lot lately, and that's because when we're zoomed into the state, people tend to nitpick on, graphic says 4.1 inches of rain over the 5th blade of grass in my backyard, and it's just not that accurate, far from it. But this is a good way to at least see where we have precipitation chances, and you can see, well, first off, typically the zone of no rain is centered right over us in late August, right? Well, no, it's going to be over the Tennessee Valley into parts of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia, where it's going to be much cooler. But for us, well, on the transition zone, guess what? We got plenty of rain. You can see the entire state really has at least some chance of seeing at least a little bit of rain over the next 7 days. You can see the western third of the state actually has the potential to see quite a bit of rain. 1 to 3 inches of rain on average possible. Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, the Concho Valley, the borderland of far west Texas, Guadalupe, Davis Mounds. 1 to 3 inches of rain possible the next 7 days. Localized higher amounts possible. And the eastern, really, 20% of the state. On the border, Louisiana, Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, we could also see 1 to 3 inches of rain. Center tier column of the state, if you want to go into Excel spreadsheet terms, lesser rain, but still, we could see, 1/4 to 1 inch of rain in spots. Now, this doesn't mean everyone's going to get rain, unfortunately, but hey, you know what? Compared to what this map usually looks like in late August, we'll take it, right? And with that, you can bet your behind we're going to have some cooler weather. Today, not very much. Highs mostly in the upper 80s to 90s across Texas today. 102 down in Laredo, triple digits south of San Antonio. Overall, though, this is still pretty nice for late August, right about where we should be, maybe a degree or two lower. Going into tomorrow, very sorry, but unfortunately, unless you're in the Panhandle, tomorrow is going to be hot. We're looking at upper 90s to triple digits across a good chunk of the state, looking at about 98 DFW, 100 in Abilene, 101 in San Antonio, 99 in Austin, 93 in Houston, with humidity, 104 in Laredo, 100 in McAllen and Del Rio, 96 El Paso, about 97 in Odessa in Midland up to Lubbock, 84 in Amarillo, 81 in Dalhart, 92 in Texarkana, with 94 in Longview and Tyler. Now, here's where we start seeing changes on Friday as a stronger cold front and those rain chances begin shifting south. High temperatures only in the low 80s. Panhandle, northwest Texas, Texoma, with upper 70s in the Arklatex. 78 for a high temperature on Friday in Texarkana, 82 in Sherman, back west to Gainesville and Wichita Falls, about 84 in Childress and Plainview, 83 in Amarillo, 80 in Perryton, 80 in Canadian, 78 in Perryton, 81 up in Dalhart, 82 in Dumas, 88 in Lubbock, 94 to 95 Odessa and Midland, about 88 to 90 in DFW. Let's do this, about 85 in Sanger to 91 in Hillsboro. Zone of transition around DFW. 92 in Beaumont, 95 in Houston, 101 in San Antonio, 99 in Austin. Don't worry, y'all are going to cool down here a bit. 105 in Laredo, 101 in McAllen, up to Del Rio, 97 in El Paso. Here's Saturday. Highs in the upper 70s to low 80s, pretty much the northern third to the northern half of Texas. 82 in DFW, 80 Texarkana. We're looking at 77 in Amarillo, 80 in Lubbock. How about a high of 83 across Waco? About 90 in Austin, 91 in Houston, 96 in San Antonio, still 104 in Laredo, 101 McAllen, 100 Del Rio, 92 in El Paso, about 94 in Fort Stockton, 88 in Alpine, 77 up in Plainview and Amarillo, upper 70s in the Panhandle. And then finally, here's Sunday. 89 in Houston, 92 San Antonio, about 89 in Austin, 85 to 87 DFW. We're looking at 80s through the hill country, 70s in the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, 86 in El Paso, 80s down through the Davis Mountains, still pretty hot down the southern Big Bend near the border of Mexico, and unfortunately still about 100 degrees in Laredo on Sunday with 98 in McAllen, 93 in Brownsville, about 90 to 95 in Corpus Christi. So the front is going to make it pretty far south by August standards. I mean, the fact it's even able to get down to Interstate 10 almost is impressive by August standards, but still, northern two-thirds of Texas, that's where you're going to want to be if you want less hot air. Southern third of Texas, I'm afraid it's still going to stay hot, but it'll cool off a couple of degrees at least. And we're not looking at a big warm-up heading into early next week. This will actually stick around. It'll slowly warm up, but we're not going to go instantly back to 100 degrees statewide. That's not to say I think summer's over. Summer's not over. This is simply false fall number one. We're still going to have summer return at some point because that's what happens here on the season of 12 schedules. How about this? The schedule of 12 seasons, as dyslexic Baldy arrives. Climate Prediction Center outlook, September 1st through 5th. Below average temperatures, northern two-thirds of the state. Still staying pretty warm, southern third of the state. And with that, we do expect above average precipitation chances, so more rain chances across the state. And with that, thank you for joining us for the Wednesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. As always, you can get your local weather forecast, interactive weather radar, daily Texas weather roundups, and more in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Those forecasts and radar, by the way, local, entire United States. So you don't have to be in Texas to use our free app. It works pretty much everywhere in the United States, even some international destinations we've found out. And of course, you can visit us here on YouTube. Just search for Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer or Texas Storm Chasers. You'll find us. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the storms heading over the next few days. All right, that's enough self-promotion. I'm not very good at it, so thanks for joining us. Have an amazing day. God bless.